a lot of general managers may hate me for this, but it's very easy for a general manager to say, we could have done better.
I enter my office. Okay,
Yeah.
no need to tell the hotel name. I enter my office. I found a bed and a guest sleeping in my office.
Really?
So the hotel, seriously, the hotel was sold out.
That sounds
Sold out 90% for me data, and the rest 10% it's gut feeling.
I feel in that sense, you still need a little bit of your intuition. And your intuition also comes from your mistake.
That's why
Yeah.
the commercial leader nowadays, the successful one, should be the one, either he's a sales talented
Correct.
with a revenue background,
Correct.
or a revenue talented with,
With sales background. So, welcome to another episode of Call Me A Hotelier, the podcast that I like to say celebrates hoteliers. I was very fortunate to have two excellent guests on the last episode, where we had really enriching conversation with regards to being a hotel manager. For this episode, I'm extremely excited to talk to again two professionals on a subject which I find when I was a hotelier was very exciting, very interesting. It was always made me think about how you decide, and a lot of guts as far as which direction you want to take the business. So I'm very excited to talk about the revenue manager, which is our episode today. We have with us today two of my friends who are hoteliers and, more importantly, expert revenue managers as far as I'm concerned. I'd like to welcome Mohamed Salah and Shailesh Fernandes. They both lead cluster reservation teams or revenue teams who, as always, are highly skilled. And the best part about being in this part of the region is multicultural. So you have people who bring in diverse opinions. They bring in diverse thought processes as well as experiences to the table, which I bet makes life as hotel revenue managers very exciting. So thank you very much, Mohamed, Shailesh,
Thank you,
for
Neil.
joining me on this episode of Call Me A Hotelier.
Thank you, Neil, for inviting us.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. So, as always, what I love to do when meeting with old friends is go back a little bit into time and talk about history. More importantly, I would like for us to share our experiences or our history as to what brought us to where we are today. I'm going to start off with Shailesh. So tell us a little bit about your journey into hospitality. When growing up, when did you kind of understand that hospitality was for you? Or was it like a light bulb moment, or was it someone who kind of inspired you getting into hospitality?
Okay, I think it's interesting, because I think hospitality as an Indian, I think I would say, it started right when I was young. Whenever we had visitors at home, my mom would push me with a tray to say, hey, serve them water, serve them snacks. But as a career, to be honest with you, I did not think I would have, chosen hospitality as a profession. But it so happened that, there was a lot of competition, a lot of entrance exams taking place. And someone just told me that, hey, this is an industry that exists, and, there's a proper profession, and you can study about it and you can get a good career out of it. And I said, okay, why not? Let's give it a try. And then I applied for hotel management. So I went to Mumbai University. I gave the entrance exams. And honestly, I was so surprised that, people, whenever they think of hotels, they usually think about, as a waiter. Let's put it that way. But then there is so much more to it, right? It's an excellent, F&B is an excellent department. I, as a student, have trained across all the departments. I have also done dishwashing, as a part of my training. So I have gone through all the departments, and I would say it's an industry that's never you don't feel like it's the same, right? Every day you go to work, there's something different. Smiles all around, it's not just about numbers or work, or it's a mix of everything, and then that's how I ended up doing my hotel management. I started off with front office, moved abroad, did my post-graduation, came back, started in reservation, and then from reservation I went into revenue, and here I am today.
Great,
So
great.
I don't know what's next, but at least here I am.
Yeah. Mohammed, Habibi,
Uh,
what was your life story all about?
it was not by coincidence. It was like, when you are in the primary and secondary school, and then you start to see advertisement on TV about hotels, schools, which is not a university, not a college. But then I start to see, when you see people smiling while they are serving, you feel like I'm that one. I need to be like them. Then I said, okay, to my family, I need to go for this school. They said, no, you go for the normal traditional school, and then you can do, in your university, hospitality or hotels. And this is what I did exactly. But when I went to the university, I felt like, okay, this is the right career, but I was a bit confused what I will be in the future, because you study everything. You study economy, you study hotel management, recipes, everything in the hotel. And you do training on a yearly basis for 4 years, each year one section in a hotel, and then you choose. But then later on, when I graduated, I said, okay, let me start in reception, which really I like it. Especially in Egypt, we are well known with the resorts or Gada, Sharm el-Sheikh. You feel like, okay, this is part of our culture as well. And I feel India and Egypt, we have almost the same cultural stuff when it comes to, welcoming your guest at home. The passionate about serving and helping others. It's not about, just smiling and for the sake of smiling. And then I went for hotels and I started the receptionist. But what clicked, and still till now I remember, my the reservation manager of that place, when he used to come with a big file of A4 documents to send it by fax. In that time, it was fax.
Okay.
My nose is very old.
Yes.
So I see him like,
Yeah.
CIA guy coming very important in a suit, I
Yeah.
felt like he's the backbone of the hotel. So
Yeah.
I said, no, I need to do this job. Then I asked him, can you train me? Then he took me with him in the reservations.
Okay.
Okay. And it was the first and last job. I mean, when I entered, I found really this is the backbone of the hotel,
Yeah.
Every department is a backbone.
Yeah, of
but by
course,
the
of
end of the
course.
day,
Yeah.
you are the main source
Correct.
of the guest for other colleague to serve later
Correct.
on. So,
Very true.
and then I like it, then it developed because I came, like we're talking about 25 years back. So it developed from reservation. Everybody start to look at the, we can talk about it later, how it developed to a revenue management
Yeah.
style and then
Mhm.
commercial
Yeah.
leaders.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's very interesting because, I said it in the previous episode as well. For me, growing up, it's the same. I think almost our cultures are almost the same, where, you have parents who are very kind of, they give you direction. For me, it was you're going to be either like a doctor or an engineer, but you were driven at least. I guess that was more so because you need to do well in your studies. And these are the careers which will probably give you the most, income. Your parents will probably start thinking, our child should be like, okay, they'll be airline pilots. These are the most highest paying jobs. But hospitality was never, I don't remember any of me or my friends growing up saying, we wanted to be hotel managers. It was never there in the spectrum. So I was like, I grew up thinking, okay, you know what? I'll probably be doing science and I'll probably be becoming either a doctor. I was not very sure. I don't think I'm that kind of a student. I'm not going to be, I can't read a book for like 5 hours, man. It's not possible.
Yeah.
And then my parents kind of understood that over time. And then they realized, listen, this guy will not be a doctor. There's no way he's going to do it.
I don't know. We have the similar story.
Yeah.
Because he asked me, or they wanted me to be a doctor.
Okay.
My sister, she did it. We
Okay.
entered university in the same time. So she's in the medicine university,
Okay.
and me, I'm studying hospitality.
Okay.
So in the first year of the college, you used to have the white coat for chef.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, correct.
So I was, teasing them, telling them, okay, me and my sister, we have the same coat. This is
Yeah.
why, this is
There
why,
is no
you know.
difference.
Yeah. So then for me, it was, I happened to go to like an education fair. And this gentleman over there who kind of got my interest about traveling and said hospitality. And then I kind of, it's the same thing, I think it was the front facing, the customer, meeting different kind of people was what got me a little bit excited. And of course, that's where the journey began. But I think 9 out of 10 times, most revenue managers, obviously, it's they don't usually start in any other department other than front office. At least historically, that's been the case.
Yes.
You know,
It's either front office or reservations as well.
yeah, but I mean, I think more importantly, the reservation managers, at least at some point of time, used to prefer to take a front office person into the role, because you understand the concept of perhaps, selling a price, or pricing, negotiating and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very rarely that you find somebody would, at least maybe the times have changed, and Shailesh, you can kind of guide us a little bit on that. But I at least during my time, I felt that reservations predominantly were pulled from front office, and front office managers used to not like that, because sometimes they had stars who were very good at speaking with guests, and then suddenly you realize that the revenue manager is kind of stealing him, saying, no, but this guy is good with numbers, let's bring him into the fold and kind of develop him. So yeah, it's changed. Perhaps, I'm not sure, but historically, at least, that's how I felt it was. But anyways, moving a little bit forward. So your guys start off both in Mohammed, you said front office?
I started, yes.
As a front desk receptionist, as well
Same
as
here.
Shailesh, front desk agent. So how long in that journey before you realized, okay, there's a calling into reservations? Was it, Mohammed, was it like as an initial click in a year or two, or did it take some time before you
in a year?
In a year.
When I started, and then I saw, as I mentioned, that
the gentleman with
exciting.
the CIA guy.
Yeah, exactly. No, I like it because when I used to read his faxes, I used to know what this, especially when it comes to tour operator numbers, you need to understand.
Correct.
And then it took me, because when you are in the reception and you try to check in a guest, you don't know who created this.
Exactly.
So I try to be the one who will create this.
Correct.
And I like it, especially when there is some challenges, like overbooking situation, all of this. I remember one day I entered my office. No need to tell the hotel name. I entered my office. I found a bed and a guest sleeping in my office.
Really?
So the hotel was sold out.
That sounds
sold out. Housekeeping brought extra bed. They put it in the office, but it was like for a staff stay over. So it was one of the family. I mean, one of the hotel, our colleagues. But by the end of the day, he's a guest.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I like this kind of challenges. Seasonality. So when we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
But when you see, there is occupancy gaps, how I will fill the hotel here and there.
Yeah, that was so funny you mentioned this. It was a funny story I had in my life as well. So many years back, again, I was working in Dubai. 31st night, I was the night in charge. And that morning, I knew that the hotel was overbooked. And we pretty much made up peace with the fact that, it's going to be overbooked. Somebody has to be turned away. The problem is, where are you going to turn this person away, right? On 31st night. There are no hotels in town.
Yeah.
We actually, backup plans were even sending them to Fujairah and sending them to, driving them like
back
an
home.
hour away.
Send them back home.
No need for a hotel tonight.
Until I had a one of course, I came back I come on the night shift, I think it's around, maybe 10, 11. And I've got the executive assistant managers, number 2 of the hotel, waiting for me at the back office. And I guess it was like a -3, overbooking of 3 rooms. But it was obvious that there was no solutions in the market. So the good thing was, he put his hand around me and he says, come on, Neil, let's go for a walk. And I'm like wondering, where's he taking me? It's 31st night. Is he going some problem? He actually took me straight up the elevator to the fitness center. And we had in the hotel,
I got it.
Yeah, we had in the hotel 2 massage rooms.
Oh, okay.
So what he had done was, he had set up the massage rooms with the beds, and he had put everything. It was like a build-up guest room.
Wow.
Yeah. The only thing is, it did not have a connecting bathroom or a washroom.
Of course.
But and the fitness center was built in such a way where it was pretty much for like maybe a couple of minutes walk to the washroom. So he basically was grooming me or guiding me as to how I had to proceed with it, which was good, because that was a solution. You don't get too many leaders who come up with solutions. At least when you're in that kind of. I was so thrilled. I thought it was the best thing that happened. And I had to use one of them. The gentleman who came in the night, it was a very nice Italian man. He said, "I told him, I said, I'm very sorry, there's some problem. We don't have a room for you, but I have a bed for you." And he was like, "I don't care. I'll sleep in the sofa."
Okay, so you selected the right guest.
Yeah. It was my luck.
Thankfully.
And yeah, the only thing is, I really babysat him for a bit because I had to show him where the bathrooms were. And then my worry was because we switch off the lights, right? I mean, the fitness center is closed.
True.
I had to put in like an additional asset, like security wise outside. So in case he gets up in the middle of the night, and then if he wants
Someone is
food,
there to look
and
after.
yeah, there was no telephone line as well. But it's interesting how, I'm sure we all have these kind of funny stories. What about you, Shailesh? I mean, when was it that you decided that revenue or reservations more so was it?
I'll be honest. So I always thought front office was my calling because, I used to love an everyday front office. You'll have something or the other happening, funny incidents, which I probably can't even share right now, but I'm sure you get the point. But when I came to Dubai, so I was trying to look for a job, and initially it got a bit difficult getting into front office because of, a lot of other challenges. And then someone said, "Hey, you know what? I have a vacancy, amazing guy, but it's in reservation. I don't have anything for you in front office." And then I was like, okay, I gave it a thought, and I was like, okay, my visa is expiring. I need a job. I said, let me give it a try, right? I mean, what's the worst that would happen? I'll work for a year or so. If it doesn't work for me, I look for front office again. And when I joined reservation, actually within the first few months, I realized there's so much more that happens in reservations than just entering the bookings, right? So it's also about your interactions. We used to have these mystery call audits.
Yeah.
In fact, I do recall it was a pre-opening hotel, and I was the first one to get 100% in one of the scores. And I remember my boss coming out, and I said, "Hey, everyone gets a samosa party today." I'm sure you know what's that.
For sure.
and then it went on, right? And then within a year, I was promoted. I got into reservation supervisor. I was like, okay, that's interesting, right? And then my boss said, "Hey, look, I used to like Excel. Like I used to do a lot of self-learning, and I used to and then I started making some sheets for the e-distribution and the revenue side of things. And then, my boss at that point, I mean, the director said, "Hey, you know what? Are you interested to look at something like a revenue analytics? More moving out of reservation." I said, "Sure. I mean, I like that. It looks very interesting. So why not give it a thought?" So he said, "Okay, come back to me tomorrow." I went back and I said, "Okay, I want to do it." And then that's where my revenue management journey started. So I started being a revenue analyst, looking at the numbers, understanding the numbers, preparing the decks for budgets and forecasts and all of that. And then that gave me a solid foundation, into understanding what revenue management is. And then that's how I stepped into the next role, moving into revenue management. Yeah.
Good. That's great. I mean, but very quickly, at any point of time, did you think, oh, I'm missing the front facing role?
Initially, yes, I would say, because when you move into revenue management, what happens is you're not directly interacting.
Yeah.
But I still feel like we influence it in some way or the other. But yes, I mean, initially I did miss it, but then there are some positives to it as well. Then that also means you don't have to face those hard conversations.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about the mystery scores if you miss something.
Yeah.
I mean, it has its own joy and fun, but I do feel even today that I do miss interacting with, guests face to face.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something, I used to like. So
no, but there's a different joy in also having that conversation over the phone, right? I mean, there have been a lot of times where I've had guests who have obviously now become repeat or who were repeat guests who initially we clicked well on the telephone call. It's there you have that customer service attitude, speaking to the customer, you have a great first reaction, and then automatically that obviously translates into a room night or multiple room nights and so forth. But getting back, just again, thinking, going back into your school days, do you think is there any kind of subject that you loved, which perhaps was a factor to influence you in your current role in revenue management? I mean, the most obvious being Were you a math person? Did you like numbers? Was it Mohammed? Were you a numbers kind of person in
Not
school?
at all. I was
No.
very bad in numbers.
I would say that yes as well.
Yeah, really?
What really makes me, I feel like I didn't do it intentionally, but I used to like the accounting,
Okay.
which is hotels accounting.
Okay.
So this is one of the subjects we study in Egypt, and this is one of the top universities in the Middle East, or
Okay.
the first one, let's say. For the hospitality. So
Okay.
we used to have, when you read about the break even, the cost, the top line, the bottom line. I'm talking about 1994 when I started the university. So it was not modern as now, but
Okay.
majority is the same. When you do the food costing and, you
Yeah,
see how
correct.
the menu engineer and all of this, and even our visibility study where we, the final project you do for the graduation, it was about, you select. So my project was about restaurant. So you need to do the project from A to Z, searching for a real land, and then you do the costing, everything. So I believe this is the, in my memories, yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
what
you
triggered
liked it.
later on to like the revenue
Yeah,
management.
but
Yeah.
school days, like you never a math person.
No,
you
not
never
really.
you never
Not
liked
really.
numbers.
No.
Were you were you preparing to be a doctor, biology, physics?
Dr. Mohamed. Yeah, that
Dr.
sounds
Mohamed
nice.
Salah.
Still,
Yeah, sounds,
I have the white coat.
is it? But Shailesh, very quickly, math was a
No,
a
I think
factor, or
no, not really. I mean, I agree with Mohammed actually here. I mean, so people also have this misconception that revenue management is about mathematics. Like you
Yeah.
need to be excellent with mathematics. I would say yes, math is required. You need to know the numbers. But I think there's so much more to it, right? It's
Yeah.
I always say that it's a science and an art.
correct?
Like the science part of it is, you look at the numbers, you look at the metrics, you look at the KPIs, ref pars and all of that. And the art is your intuition.
correct.
Like that is something no AI, no system can replace. It's that gut feeling that tells you, hey, should I drop the rate tonight? Should I not drop the rate tonight? Should I take this risk? That's only you who can do it. And that's an art form,
Yeah,
which
correct.
only a revenue manager can do that. Right.
Which is a great segue, actually, what you just mentioned. You kind of put the whole thing together when in the last sentence as to what your daily role is. So as we move forward, revenue managers, again, I'll try and do justice, but I would say are key decision makers as far as top end revenues are concerned. Y'all guys have to ensure that the best, the in simple words, the right room is sold to the right person
Exactly.
at the right time,
price.
and most importantly at the right price. There's a lot of ways that you can look into that. It's not as simple as the highest. It's not always, it's not, there's the pricing is not always the highest. That's the best decision. It could be slightly lower for a longer period. And it's all about at the end thinking how you guys going to get the most revenue out of the situation in hand. Okay. There are a lot of external factors that obviously dictate your decision making. I hope I've done a little bit of justice into trying to explain, but it's a good segue for us to get into a little bit about your daily job. So, what's your, if you had to sum up very quickly, I know no 2 days are different for us hoteliers, but what's your daily job mostly like? If you had to run through like from morning to evening, Salish, what do you end up doing? Is it more like, are you a bookworm, or is it a little bit more meeting people? How does it work?
So I think what I try to do is, so usually my week, I know I plan like, in a way that Monday, Tuesdays always are crazy. I don't know about you, but you come after
Meetings.
a weekend, there's a lot of things
Yeah.
that happens, meetings. So I try to keep all of that, any, let's say, unimportant meeting towards the end of the week, Thursdays or Fridays. But then the first few days is always about like, internal meetings, being productive. So I start my day usually, like everyone does, looking at the pickup report, looking at the pace, getting all the boring stuff out of the way. And then I look at basically something like, okay, what can I do more? Right. I mean, because we look at a cluster of hotels. So, it's not one hotel is the same to the other. So you have to then start focusing on, let's say, a hotel that's not doing well. or some hotel that's not picking up as you would like to. So you deep dive into those hotels and you start to look at trends, you start to look at patterns, and then you call the hotel manager, you call the front office guys, you call your team and say, hey, what can we do? So like a little bit of that brainstorming. I feel nowadays a lot of revenue managers, people also had that impression that revenue managers are someone who sits in a cubicle and never get out of the office. They just crunch numbers, push the rates up and down. But I feel now it's more about collaboration, right?
Correct.
Like, I mean, you collaborate with different departments.
Correct.
You talk to them, you understand their thoughts, and then that's how you come to a conclusion with all the
Very
findings that you have.
Yeah.
Right? So I believe that's in a nutshell how my day looks like.
Very good. Mohammed, you look after a cluster of hotels as well. How's your day any different from Shailesh's, or is it almost the same? Anything different that comes to mind that kind of defines your day?
It's mainly, as he mentioned, looking at the pickup report, but for someone who doesn't know what it means, pickup report is what we picked up last night.
How many room nights?
Reservation wise, how many room nights, which dates, and then we start to to dig more to see which segments as well, who's the higher payer guest, which room types, and then you look at this and you start looking at the past night or the previous night, what I did of all actions was correct or no, who's doing better, me or my competition, because this is it's a daily activity. And sometimes, especially for a cluster, it's a bit tough because one hotel might do very well, the other one moderate, and the other one is need for improvement. So as you mentioned, there is no one day similar to the other. And then you start to look at your cancellation report, reservation made, to see, is it accuracy, when it comes to reservation entry, it was correct or no, something need to be corrected. And then you start to look at the future as well, with all the intelligence reports which we're having right now. Before, it used to be even by phone, if you recall. We used to call the competition, asking them how was your occupancy last night, and everybody's telling whatever whatever comes to his mind,
depending on what they want.
And if you call one hotel, if you call, actually, it was very funny. You call one hotel twice, you will have different figures.
So true.
And most of them, they are very self-confident. No, we close full house. Okay. So now, for sure, especially in this market, it's all by systems. So it's getting us more handful. I would say resources. It's no longer you need to doubt. So everything you have in your hand is correct. You need just to manipulate and to see which one to be used when. And days are passing very fast.
No, I think so. In a nutshell, a lot of analytical. You need to have good analytical skills. You need to be someone who can kind of, takes data and then understand what's happening. Last night, how many room nights were picked up is not as simple as good or bad. There are conditions, which factor in. For example, what's the market doing right now? What's your neighbor selling at? Is he selling at the right place at the right time? So many external factors. So I love that. I love that about the revenue manager. It's so analytical. It's so analytical, and I love the fact that I'm not. You guys are the masters in it, but whatever little I understand about being a revenue manager is that there's no always. It's not always just a very clean black line. There's so many factors that will influence what could happen. It's very easy. I'll be a lot of general managers may hate me for this, but it's very easy for a general manager to say we could have done better. There's something in English where you say hindsight is 2020. It's very easy. It's very easy for a hotel general manager to say, oh, we should have picked up 10 dirhams more. We should have sold the room at this. Yeah, but okay, so why don't you come and why don't you make that decision? And then I will be the one telling you we could have done better. So it's great. I think the learning curve is fantastic, especially if you're good at analyzing numbers and, pick up, as you said, pick up reports and market trends and stuff like that. Yeah, which brings me to one which I love. Okay, so we've already established a lot of analytical skills, which is basically going back into information. But the next is the other side of the thing is forecasting. So you're taking this kind of data and you're saying, hey, you know what? You're almost becoming that person with the magic ball, right? You're saying, okay, we are going to do X amount. So there's one general manager who's saying, hey, Mohammed, what's the occupancy going to be tomorrow? And you've been thinking, do I have a magic ball to tell you about, how's what's the occupancy going to be? What are your views about forecasting? I mean, how much of it is data that you have from the last years, obviously, which has told you about history, and how much of it is gut feeling? Like, you think, okay, you know what? I think the data says that we should do like an 80% occupancy, but my gut feeling is saying we'll do 90 because of certain factors. How much of weight do you put, Mohammed, into each of these things? I mean, these two things.
I would say the percentage, has changed.
Okay.
On each year is different. So if you talk about a hotel without a revenue management system, for instance, okay, I would say 70% is your data and 30% is your gut feeling.
Okay.
But nowadays, with the systems we have, with the trends and all of this, it may be 90% for me data, and the rest 10% is gut feeling. Especially in a market like Dubai, if you will go back 3 or 5 years back, COVID.
Okay.
COVID was the other way around.
Yeah.
It was 90% gut feeling. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but in a normal scenario, it's mainly you have the data. It's a data-driven forecast.
Yeah.
And you need to organize which part of the data you trust more.
Correct.
So you might trust the trend more than trusting the pickup on a daily basis. The trend of last year might be more efficient, or the other way around. So but still 90% data. You mix it up and you come with your forecast.
Good. Yeah. So how about you, Shailesh? I mean, what do you agree? I mean, is it more data driven? I mean, is it fair to say that in 2025 we have systems which are doing most of the forecasting for us?
I wouldn't say most. I would still say there is about 20% of that gut feeling that comes through, because while, revenue management systems are very advanced, they can look at a lot of trends. I still feel that it's still missing that part of where I can call Mohammed and ask, hey, how's the area doing? Did you get this group, or did you have any cancellation? Did you notice any trends? These are the things sometimes systems can't pick up, right? Like, I mean, it cannot predict a geopolitical situation. It cannot predict, flight or a airline situation. I feel in that sense, you still need a little bit of your intuition. And your intuition also comes from your mistakes, right? Like, let's say not mistakes, rather learnings. Like, let's say you tried something last week or the week before or the month before.
Or last night even.
I mean, and it didn't work, right?
Yeah.
That builds into your intuition. That becomes a part of your intuition for the next time to say, hey, look, you know what? I had tried this. System is telling me that I'm going to do 99%, but I know I'm going to get 5 no-shows, because that's exactly what happened, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like there is still that intuition part of it. Data has advanced, but I still feel, that's an 80-20 balance probably.
Yeah. So I was talking to the revenue manager, and I was kind of motivating him to say, you know what, because so he came from a school of thought where at the beginning of the month, when I told him, okay, so what's your forecast for the next month? He would go as close as possible to the budget. Okay, he's like, okay, it's there. We finalized the budget. Why do we need to talk about forecasts? I'm like, no, but forecast is different and budget is different, right? You mean you can't predict the world 1 year. Y'all guys are just closing your budget for next year.
Yeah.
For next year, you're telling an owner or a general manager or an operator, you're telling them like, hey, you know what? In December 2026, you're going to do 96% occupancy. That's far-fetched, right? I mean, that's the best you can do today based on what you know.
True.
But perhaps you'll be in a better position on December 1st, 2026 to tell your owner, operator, whatever, manager, exactly what is
it
the
needs to be a
actual situation.
quarter budget.
Yeah, whatever. But when you're closer to date. And then, so he used to come across to me and he used to tell me, okay, you have the budget. what's this? Why are you stressed on this? I'd be like, no,
I don't have the crystal ball.
I wish we all had one.
Yeah. And I should be like, listen, man, look at what the market is telling you today. Because it could be that you put a budget of 90%, but there's a war situation next door, which is going to be 60%. Should I hold you to that 90% you predicted a year and a half back? No, that's not how it works. But again, they want to be a little bit more cautious, and they don't want to be, a little bit adventurous, kind of push themselves a little bit more. So even if you thought of a 90% budget, you'll say, okay, you know what, this month, I'm going to forecast 92%. Nobody likes to push that thing. But I think that's where the thrill is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you are able to forecast 92% and you actually reach there, then it's great. Even though your budget, say, was 85%, that means you're doing something right, and
True.
That's what I love about this revenue manager's role. It's like it's almost like, you set challenges for yourself. You set new goals every single day, and you work hard towards. Yeah, not necessarily you will meet them every time, and you will not be judged, of course. You should at least, okay, let me put this right. Again, a lot of general managers may hate me for this, but you should not be judged on whether, you've been able to reach those forecasts or no, because again, it's just predictions.
I will tell you some secret. Okay. And this is for all my general managers colleagues. Okay. Don't think that the director of revenue does not judge himself on a daily basis.
Very good. I'm very happy you said that.
Because we might judge, but we keep silent if the result is
we
not
don't
good.
Say it out loud.
Okay.
Yes.
And some of us, even if the results are good, I mean, we are not too much, publishing it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we judge ourselves. That's why we see the last night results.
Yeah.
We see the forecast, how we close to our budget, what were the external factors.
Yeah.
If all factors are the same as we budgeted, then we should reach the same numbers.
Correct.
Okay, so we judge ourselves, and because we are the goalkeepers
of
for
course,
the hotel.
Yeah.
Okay,
very
and
true.
it's really very important when your team coming to you or your colleagues from other departments telling you, "Hey, Neil, what do I need to go vacation in summer?" Then you are the one who's telling them based on a forecast. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
So imagine you tell them a wrong forecast. He will go vacation and hotel will run 90%.
Correct.
The guy will lose his job later on. So,
yeah, I mean, in so many ways, I would say a revenue manager plans the business, right? I mean, I don't think a general manager will make decisions without the revenue manager or without his or her guidance, right? I mean, you're just talking about it, right? I look at it from any business for that matter. Even in the current where I am right now, we'll see. Okay, fine. The month of December does not seem to be a busy month, and then I would probably tell my team, you know what, take in your vacations. Plan your let your team take a break and stuff like that. But these kind of decisions are coming from the revenue manager. I mean, that's the guy who's giving us that kind of data driven decisions, who are kind of guiding us. So any general manager really needs to have his revenue manager almost holding the gear of that vehicle to decide whether it's on the first gear or it's the second gear or it's the third gear. And if there is a general manager who believes that it's not possible, then unfortunately he's kind of putting himself he's getting ready for failure.
Right.
So yeah, great.
I would say something, Neil, and maybe this age is already gone.
We're not that old.
No, I mean 10 years back. I mean the age of all general manager schools.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who for them the revenue manager or revenue director is someone who took the position because the company overall decided to have a director of revenue.
Correct.
But they don't believe in the revenue management.
Correct.
Okay. This time was a bit difficult because you need to convince and to tell them, hey, I'm here. I'm the one who's telling you, and how much to sell the room, the group, the ancillaries, the meeting rooms and all of this.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I believe, everybody's becoming like a commercial mindset. So
correct.
Nowadays, GMs, they know really the importance of the director of revenue. I know some, my GM even coming to me, and he has the full power to offer a room rate for anybody, but he's coming to me to check on the room rate because he knows and he trusts that I will give him the right rate for the right room in the right time.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, it's something that even I practiced a lot. I did it for two reasons. One is when I was leading a property, was that, yeah, of course, I trust my revenue manager to guide me on the right pricing. And then second thing was also is that, see, I mean, again, secret out of the bottle. Yes, the general manager can definitely give a complimentary room as well, but I'm not meeting any of my goals by giving complimentary rooms, right? Yeah, when you have a customer who's a repeat, he's asking for the best price, then it's your responsibility to work out something for him, So I looked at it from this point of view. If the lowest rate all over the market on any platform, on any kind of outlet was, say, 100 dirhams, then I'd give the same 100 to the guy. Yeah, I'm giving him the best, lowest rate possible. But that decision cannot come, it doesn't come in my head. I have to ask the revenue manager. So I always looked at it from that point of view. I went back to it and I said, listen, tell me what's the lowest rate you all are selling, and then give me that rate, and I will give it to my guest. But I know I'm being ethical in giving him the best possible rate. It's a whole other discussion right now we could have regarding what we call the OTAs over right now.
This is
I think that requires another session altogether.
That's a whole new podcast, maybe even a 2-hour podcast to discuss what the current market situation is. But yeah. Anyways, getting into now, of course, there's a lot of it's people's, right? You're working with people, and then one of the key things is teamwork. So historically, the revenue manager and the sales manager have always had this.
This is 10 years back, by the way, which I'm telling you.
Okay. So historically, but the revenue manager and the sales manager have had what we call a love-hate relationship. You could have a cup of coffee and hug him this morning, and then in the afternoon you could be trading blows with him. What's your relation? I mean, of course, y'all guys are managing cluster hotels, so it's a bit of a different scenario. But based on what you know right now, as far as teamwork is concerned, see, reservations and front office is a different ball game altogether. Yeah, sometimes front office may struggle, but that's more because of communication with revenue. Okay, nobody told me that the rate was X. We thought it was Y. But from a real fist fight point of view, it's usually sales and revenue, because revenue is trying to push total revenues up, and then sales is trying to get that relationship going and, get that discounting to kind of build long-term business. So what's the current role of a revenue manager, and as from a teamwork perspective, from a sales teams concerned now? How is it for you, Shailesh?
I think, sales, I mean, we are all the commercial team, right? So I think the goal is the same, but I feel sometimes the understanding of the opportunity for the sales and us might be a little different, right?
Yeah.
So, sales usually gets the demand, they are like, okay, we got to bring the demand, we got to bring the partners in. But as a revenue manager, our task is to optimize it.
Correct.
Right? We have to make sure that how do we maximize that, right? So
Correct.
If an opportunity comes at a lower price point, when I know that there is an opportunity sitting there at a higher price point, I have to decline that. Right?
Correct. Yeah.
So I think that healthy debate is still required. But I do believe that it needs collaboration. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I think gone are those days where you put your foot down and say no, my say or nothing else. Right? That doesn't work in today's world. You have to find a way to collaborate with other teams, talk them out, make them understand that, that, hey, look, this is my point of view. This is the data. This is what it shows. I'm sorry, but this opportunity doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
And then it's on them whether they take it to their stride and say, hey, or we just buy them a karak later on and move on, right?
Or sambusa.
Or a samosa, yes, I'm sure. So.
Mohammed and I, we share a kind of a funny history as far as, because we worked together for a short period of time. And of course, he will remember me as a front office person having a lot of debate with the sales, who's a very good friend.
Especially.
For payments and stuff like that. But has it changed a lot compared to those good old days right now as far as revenue and sales is concerned? I mean, is it a fact that they've kind of lot of hotels now kind of put them together as what they call commercial teams.
Yeah,
Yes.
this
You
is
know,
right,
and
actually,
then
the
this
right
is a
way.
you
So
know,
it's
that's a
sales,
good.
marketing, and revenue. They are usually a part of
and
the
then
commercial team.
usually you'll
Yes.
find, maybe I'm wrong, but you'll find revenue managers usually heading these kind of teams, or if not a director of sales. I think it's good. It's a good practice, right? So that you kind of empathize a little bit from a sales perspective, because I've been in sales as well. It's not easy. It's not easy selling. You have to
It's to sweat.
you have to sweat. You have to sweat. Yeah, that's true. So has it changed a lot compared to when you and I experienced it, and to how it is now for you in your operations?
It changes to the better way. I mean,
Okay.
as he mentioned, nowadays we know very well, especially we with the seasonality in Dubai and all over the world, this dynamic market, you cannot be stubborn on a room rate,
Mhm.
telling your sales. It's easy to say no,
Yeah, exactly.
especially if you have a full trust from your management, from your company, and your position is to say yes and to evaluate or
Correct.
to say no.
Yeah.
But you need to consider as well, when you forecast, you consider the external factor. When
Correct.
you take a business, you need to consider the external factor for the sales manager or a director
Yeah.
pushing to get this room confirmed, maybe a long relationship.
Correct.
Maybe this account he was trying to target for almost a year,
Correct.
and this is the first time they give him a room. So you
Yeah.
need to know everything before deciding.
Yeah.
And then you evaluate if there is if I will take this opportunity, okay, do I have future opportunities with the same company or no?
Correct.
And it's not about convincing your director of sales as much as you try to put him in the loop.
Correct.
Yes.
That's why
Yeah.
the commercial leader nowadays, the successful one,
Hmm.
should be the one, either he's a sales talented
Correct.
with a revenue background,
Correct.
or a revenue talented with
With sales background. Very true. Very
cannot
true.
cannot be straight away sales focused or revenue
Correct.
focused.
Yeah.
Right.
So, we were discussing this in the previous episode when we were talking about the hotel manager, and we said that today's hotel manager needs to be multi-skilled, in the sense you need to understand what food and beverage is all about. And then one of my, the guest was telling me, he was saying, like, it's so interesting. I today learn a lot about engineering. I'm going and opening water tanks and understanding what's happening, from the taps, and it's a great learning experience once you reach that hotel manager level. But it's important, and I also believe that, like, this is the best thing about the hospitality, is that you have to understand everyone else's
Concerns.
Yeah.
concerns, and then put that
And their
all
perspective
together
as well. Yes.
yeah, put that all together into a factor about making the decision. Yeah, good. So let's as we try to wrap up this great conversation, I hope we've
Thank you.
done justice. We look into the future. Y'all were mentioning about y'all guys having technology supporting y'all. A lot of the younger generation right now must be thinking, okay, you know what? How's that going to be factoring as when we get into the hospitality industry? One of the everyone's talking about AI. Has that got into the revenue manager's portfolio of education? Do you need to be AI skilled today as a revenue manager?
I would say yes.
Is it?
I mean, otherwise you're not, because technology is moving very fast. It's
Okay.
like a revolution, So it will remain moving more faster and faster. So if you will not catch up now, then you might not be able to use the same reports which you are using right now with the existing one later on. So you
Okay.
need to be adapted on a daily basis with the technology. You need to see what's better for your hotel, what's might not work from the current systems. Maybe with the technology you can merge, and then you can save the cost
Correct.
later on from the expenses. Because one of
Okay.
the revenue directors or commercial leaders' job is also looking at the bottom line. So you are
Correct.
doing the top line, which is the revenue as we talk,
Correct.
but you need to look at the expenses as well, because by the end of the day, the hotel general manager
Correct.
task is to do a bottom line revenue, which we
Correct.
call it gross
Profit.
operating
Correct.
profit.
Gross
GOP.
operating, yeah. Yeah. How is it for you, Shailesh?
I feel the same. I think you have to know the tools. I feel what's going to happen is AI is going to take away a lot of the mundane tasks, like running the reports and doing the back end work. And I think you got to learn how to facilitate the tools and use those tools to your advantage on planning, forecasting, looking at how the business level looks. So AI is going to play a big role. And we talk to a lot of vendors, and a lot of every other tool has AI in it. They even claim that you can reduce from 4 revenue managers to 1 revenue manager. So if
Okay.
that happens, you have to be ready skill wise to operate that tool and understand that tool, right?
Yeah.
If you don't, you're a bit behind on the league then. Yes.
Okay. Good. Great. But I mean, maybe I'm a little bit old school, but I honestly feel that hospitality will always be about the people. It will always be about, people will be involved. It will not be robotic from A to Z, as in from check in to check out.
Of
There will be
course.
people involved. So for the younger generation who's now considering, getting into hospitality, and now perhaps after hearing the two of your revenue managers, what do you believe are the skills that they need to have to be successful in revenue management? Mohammed?
I would say they should be looking at how to generate more money. Okay,
Okay.
for their consider your hotel as your own property
Okay.
and how you can do better.
Okay. But I mean, like, for example, when you are, okay, so let's put it this way. When you are hiring today, suppose you are hiring a candidate for a reservation role, or even a reservation manager, what are you looking for most importantly when you're talking to the person?
I look for somebody who's switched on
Okay.
to come and to tell me or to challenge me, okay, for the strategy decisions.
Very
Like,
nice.
hey, I would say, or I would recommend to drop the price because I see the competition in the morning, their prices are on the lower side,
Very good.
or the other way around. So you need somebody to interact and to give you a kind of confident that if you are not there for a day as we are running meetings, there is a back
Yeah.
office or a backup will do the needful.
Correct. Shailesh, what about you? I mean, agree?
I think I definitely agree with that. I think you need to have someone who can come and say, hey, this can be done differently.
Hmm.
Because if the person just accepts and says, okay, I'm going to do exactly how you do, then nothing changes, right?
Correct.
So you got to have that bit of dynamism. Also, at the same time, I feel that person needs to have a bit of hospitality in them, right? Because
Correct.
while we are revenue managers, but we still work with people.
Correct.
We if you don't understand the logic of what a guest wants or what a guest is looking for,
Correct.
the product that you're selling is it
meaning.
loses its meaning.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, even a lot of hotel managers will say that we look for the personality and then we train for the job, kind of thing. You
Right.
need to
Yes.
you need to ensure that the person is driven.
Yes.
They're kind of showing enthusiasm to learn. They're looking to kind of grow. They're trying to be the best version of themselves. But you hit it on the nail, Mohammed. I think we need to have, from a revenue perspective, you need to have a lot of guts. So you need to be driven. I will say more than guts. You should challenge the norm,
The status quo.
yeah. You should say, for example, I would have loved if I said let's put the price at 200, I would love the guy just below me or working with me say, why not 250? Or why not 150?
Yes.
Challenge the norm, debate, pricing, because like we said, it's just the right price at the right time. Not necessarily right price is always higher.
Yes.
An owner or again the top board, I will say, I'll call them, put them all into that. They will always look for top line. Yeah.
Yes.
But there's a lot of there are a lot of general managers who, again, and they may not like me for it, but I've heard a lot of general managers saying, and I'll use a KPI for what in revenue we use called the average daily rate, or your ADR, is basically the average of all your room revenue by the room sold. But a lot of general managers I've heard them saying is, you can't take ADR to the bank. Right? Yeah. You can't take so hey, I've got the best average rate in the market, but if you got only one room sold at that rate, you're the biggest loser perhaps in the market. What you need to do is you need to take the total revenue and then put that in the bank to kind of to support
The
your
TREF bar
bottom.
is what they call it.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's very exciting. I always wish that I have more time
Yeah, me
when I
too.
have these
Yeah,
kinds of
absolutely.
conversations. The last episode that we had, the guests challenged me to an episode 2. So they're like, we're gonna come back for an episode 2 because there's so much more that we can talk about. But I hope that with this enriching conversation with the two of you all guys, I hope that some one person may who's considering hotel management or hospitality management, or who's already in the system, as in who's already studying, will be driven towards considering revenue management as their key, I would say, part of the hotel management life, because I think it's so exciting. I think your guys do a fantastic job on a daily basis. Y'all are one of the, nobody kind of talks too much about the achievements of a revenue manager, because like we said, it's human that we say in hindsight, oh, we could have done better. But it's not always the
Yes.
case. So thank you very much, Shailesh. Thank you very much, Mohammed,
Thank
for
you.
Thank you,
taking
Neil.
the time out today. I pulled you all out because I wanted to have this conversation, and I hope that we get to see you all guys back again.
Thank you.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you. And it was really nice. Thank you so much for inviting us.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, guys.
Great.
Yeah, inshallah. Take
Sure.
care. Bye bye.